and welcome to Timeless with Julie Hartman Live. It is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. I'm Julie Hartman, and it is great, as always, to be with you. I'm a little disappointed, though, because I was expecting coming in that we'd have some of the eating the dogs, eating the cats, eat the cat.
Springfield, they're eating the dogs.
No,
They're eating
I want
the cats.
the other one.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating
Let's get a
the
Sean C.
pets
Cam.
of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
This is probably
Eat
not-
The cat. Eat
Thank
the
you.
Cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Eat the cat, eat the cat.
They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs.
They know
Eat the cat.
that literally for the whole day today, I've just been saying, eat the cat randomly in just conversations you injected. I have had that stuck in my head, I swear to God, for the past week. But welcome for those of you who've had it or not had it stuck in your head. We're so happy that you're here. 844-861-5537 is the call-in number. 844-861-5537. Call me. Or use the chat. I already see we have two people here in the chat. Someone writes, raise your hand if you're keeping it classy in the chat. Yeah, good for you. Thank you for saying the rule before I even had to say it. We have not had any kind of serious offenders, so let's keep that one going. Today I'm doing a very different kind of show. Well, I guess I'm doing a show I haven't done in a while. Done shows like this, but not recently. We've been on the politics beat recently. I want to talk about what I call spiritual treasures today. Many of you know that a few months ago at this point, I feel like it's been about a month and a half since I've been back. I returned. I see people are raising their hand. That's hilarious. I returned from a 5-week, 7-country trip to Europe. And a huge part of that trip to Europe was that I participated in a Catholic spiritual immersion program in Rome, which was unbelievable because it was this group of 20 young people from all over the world. We had a guy from India, a girl from Latvia, a girl from Hungary, a guy from the Netherlands, another girl from England. You had this girl from Los Angeles, California, 2 girls from Nebraska. It was so incredible and diverse. And we were all in Rome for a week, participating in this spiritual boot camp where we would wake up really early, go to mass, go to many churches, have conversations, come back, have even more conversations, go to even more churches. And when I got back from that trip, things in this country were happening at such a frighteningly rapid speed that I really didn't have the chance to share with you the way that I've been transformed as a result of that trip. We know that Donald Trump was assassinated on July 13th. I did a show from Italy, and then Joe Biden dropped out.
There was an assassination attempt. He was not assassinated.
Did I say he was assassinated? Oh,
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
That's pretty bad. I'm so sorry that I said that. Thank God he wasn't assassinated. Thank you. Yes, of course. There was an assassination attempt. You know, Joe Biden was swapped out. Kamala comes in. We haven't had time to talk about that. So I want to tell you about the way my worldview has shifted and hear your thoughts on this, because I get so many emails from listeners about loneliness. When I shout out my email here on Dennis and Julie, I get the most incredible people, and by the way, the most diverse people writing into me, different ages, different walks of life. I've had several actually transgender individuals write into me. And the through line of, especially among people my age, is that people write that our shows are a source of comfort for them amidst their loneliness, or that they appreciate when I talk about loneliness. And I have to tell you that after this trip, I very rarely, if at all, feel lonely. And it's because of a worldview that I have internalized, which we're going to discuss. But first, I actually want to play for you really quickly a video that I found. And it evinces what I have been talking about so much on this show over the past few weeks about Kamala Harris. We talked about this yesterday. We talked about it at the DNC. But in my observation, the Democratic Party, just to take one moment on politics, loves to throw out these phrases that they have termed: Muslim ban, book ban, don't say gay bill, Project 2025, Trump's abortion ban is another big one. I may have said that one. But they throw out these terms, and they know that most of the American people do not have the time or the energy to actually figure out if these things are true, such as the purported Muslim ban. And they know this and continue to do it to inculcate this kind of association cycle with Americans. So they hear Muslim ban and they really believe that Donald Trump writ large signed an executive order banning Muslims from coming into the United States. We know that is not true. Yesterday, I read the executive order. It, for 90 days, suspended the travel of foreign nationals from 6 countries that were on the state-sponsored terrorism list, while the Trump administration kind of got its footing and redid its immigration system so as to prevent foreign nationals from hostile countries to come in and possibly do bad things to America. But we saw this. I want to play this clip for you. This is so important. I think this was from yesterday or the day before, sometime over the past 2 days, post the Harris-Trump debate. And Kamala Harris, it actually, of course, was over the past few days because Donald Trump, this was yesterday, it was after Donald Trump's second assassination attempt. Listen to this answer. Listen to how many of these association phrases she throws out.
Do you have full confidence in the Secret Service to protect all of you?
I do.
You feel safe, you and your family?
I do. But, I mean, you can go back to Ohio. Not everybody has Secret Service.
What?
And there are far too many people in our country right now who are not feeling safe. I mean, I look at Project 2025, and I look at, like the don't say gay laws coming out of Florida. Members of the LGBTQ community don't feel safe right now. Immigrants or people with an immigrant background don't feel safe right now. Women don't feel safe right now. And so, yes, I feel safe. I have Secret Service protection. But that doesn't change my perspective on the importance of fighting for the safety of everybody in our country. And doing everything we can to, again, lift people up and not beat people down so they feel alone and are made to feel small and made to feel like they're somehow not a part of it or us.
Wow.
I don't know what your problem is, Julie. She's creating jobs. Secret Service for everybody.
I know, right? There you go. No, unbelievable. Do you see that? Literally, she just pivots. Project 2025, the LGBT community, the immigrant community, women, trans. It's like this throwing out red meat. It's just beyond belief. Anyway, I wanted to show that to you to further prove my point of this association cycle. All right, before we get to my spiritual treasures, spiritual nutrients, the way I've been transformed as a result of my time, but really I think it's so helpful for so many people who are really battling sources of secular modern malaise that are coming at us constantly like a freight train. Before we get into that, I want to talk to you about gold for a moment. Economists are warning us about massive tax hikes that could hit our IRAs and 401ks hard. With inflation rising and global uncertainty, it's no wonder that central banks and many Americans are turning to gold. If you haven't thought about gold yet, now is the time, and you should consider trusting Priority Gold to help you diversify your savings with gold and silver. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD for a free gold information guide and see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Experts agree that physical gold is one of the best ways to fortify your savings by tying your assets to something physical, something that has value no matter the monetary policies. Act now to get your portfolio working for you. Well, at least for now, the market's golden. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD to learn more. That's text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD. All right. Our subject today is generally about combating, as I had just said, the modern secular malaise that I think many people succumb to. And I mentioned that so many emails I get from listeners are about this subject of loneliness. And I see all around me, constantly and all of the time, people who are living very diminished lives. I see people all the time on their phones. I see people kind of walking around with a lack of purpose and meaning. And honestly, for some time, I kind of felt like I was in that category of person. But that was before I went to Rome and really kind of got this religious worldview about the importance of your own life that I really want to share with you, because I think no matter what it is that you're struggling with, this is something that will help you. So I'm laughing because I feel like Sean knows what the thing I'm about to say. And we just filmed a Dennis and Julie that is so much on this subject, and I'm going to bring up biological things. But this single worldview, I feel like, has transformed everything for me. And it has to do with sperms and eggs, okay? But this is immensely important. It is a bleeping miracle that every single one of us is on this earth right now. I did not fully realize that until I went on this trip. One of the things that I love about religious individuals, and I grew up very secular, waved my hand at religious worldviews. I thought that it was nice, but I thought, and well-meaning, but I didn't quite understand it. But the thing that's so incredible about religious individuals is that they really believe, as I now do, that every single person is infinitely precious and created in the image and likeness of God. And there are these beautiful passages in the Bible about how God knew you before you were even born. God formed you. And again, I thought that all of that was really lovely, but it wasn't something that I necessarily totally bought. I kind of, even though I respected a lot of religious worldviews, I came to this understanding of the world as this very materialist, scientific event, essentially. That everything is just kind of an evolution of scientific occurrences. And then I really started to actually look at things from a scientific perspective, as opposed to a more poetic or theological perspective. I actually started to look at some facts on the ground. And I realized that although there are 8 billion people on the world right now, and that's a lot of people, and there are 110 billion people who have been on this earth in the span of human civilization, which is also a lot of people, that is a tiny, 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 tiny fraction of people compared to so many who could have been here and were not here. For that one sperm to meet that one egg to create you is a total act of miraculous, I believe, divine action. And as it relates to me, I think about this a lot with my surrogacy. Those of you who've been watching Timeless for a while know that I brought onto the show Jennifer Lal. She is a huge anti-surrogacy advocate, and we were talking about surrogacy. And I actually, after that episode, started to dive more into surrogacy and IVF to really understand what actually happens. You can probably surmise that it's a bit of a difficult thing to face, because it causes a lot of pain, especially for my mother or a mother, egg retrieval, in vitro fertilization. You know, these are kind of uncomfortable, weird things and painful things to talk about. But it actually is unbelievable that I am able to be on this earth. There were 2 gestational surrogates before me that failed. There were 2 embryos, essentially, that my parents had, my mother's egg and my dad's sperm, and they were, they did not take, essentially, when they were in vitro fertilized into my surrogate mother. And then I was the, I think, 5th attempt, the 5th embryo and the last embryo, and thankfully it took, and now I'm here on this earth. But think about that for a minute. If one of the other embryos took, I would not be here. We think we would be here, but it would not happen. If another egg and another sperm of your mother's and father's came together that wasn't you, it wouldn't be you. Just as your sister and your brother are different from you, if it were a different combination, you would not be here. And so I think if all of us just realized that and understood for a moment how miraculous it is, how statistically insane it is way bigger than winning the lottery. It is way bigger than being bit by a shark. You know what they actually say? They say if you threw a life vest into the ocean, think about how massive the ocean is. If you threw a life vest randomly anywhere in the ocean and a turtle came up through that life vest, that is like akin to your chance of being born. That turtle is you. Out of any of the other turtles that could have come through that life vest. And so that gives literally every single life, to me, an unparalleled source of meaning. And when you consider that, you start to realize that, as I remarked on a forthcoming Dennis and Julie episode, that you really are actually the main character, not only of your life, but of the world right now. I know that sounds kind of hubristic to say, but you are a protagonist in this world. And once you start to view the world as very small, I think that you start to understand yourself as quite large, that you are a figure in other people's lives. And then I kind of started to have that understanding of like, wow, it's really unbelievable that I'm actually here. And it wasn't somebody else. The millions, trillions of other combinations that could have happened, but then it was me. And then I started to think more about, okay, well, why was I born when I was born? I was born in 1999. I'm 24 years old. I was born as an American. Full stop right there. That's really an incredible thing. There are 350 million people in America. We think that's a lot. But there are 8 billion people in the world, which is even more. So that means that only 4% of the world is American. So when we talk about this whole idea of a 1% socioeconomically, yes, that's true. But all of us, by virtue of being an American, are in the 4% of the world, which is an elite category of people. We have unparalleled freedoms compared to those really in most of the rest of the world. I just think it's an incredible thing that is the context in which I was born. Not to sound like Kamala Harris, she does a lot of these significance of the passage of time and the context in which we were born, but it actually is an important thing. I think of myself, I go, wow, I'm a woman. I could have been born in many other countries, such as those in Africa overtaken by Islamic jihadists who engage in clitoridectomy, removing the genitals of a woman. I could have been born in many Middle Eastern countries where Sharia law rules, where I would have to be veiled, where I would have to obtain permission from my husband or brother in order to go to work. Forget even as a woman, just as a person, I could have been born in Gaza. I could have been born in China, in Russia, in Argentina, in Brazil, in Mexico. We didn't do anything to deserve the way that we're born. That's the thing. We did nothing to earn the birthright that we think that we have. Me being born in the United States is no accomplishment of mine. I am a human being that could have been born in any other country, in any other context. And again, that kind of gives you a source of meaning of, okay, first of all, you understand your privilege, to use a very in vogue term, but you also start to contemplate, why was I born in this kind of way? So I talked about being born in 1999. That's an incredibly prosperous time. I wasn't born, like in the middle of a world war, in the middle of, for instance, the 1979 revolution in Iran, or in August of 1945 when the atomic bombs were being dropped on Japan. I was born in the year and a prosperous time. I was born as an American, and I was born given this shot at life that so many people don't have. So many people don't have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom as a woman to wear your hair down and to embrace your femininity. And I think if Americans actually viewed themselves this way, not only the American privilege part, but also just the gift of life part, then so many of us wouldn't suffer from this kind of insignificant malaise that many of us succumb to. Now, I think another part of this too that has really changed my worldview is that we have this secular malaise of us not understanding how consequential and miraculous our lives are. But we also are surrounded by so many forces which are designed to make us feel very small. The biggest one of these, and I am such a proponent of people getting the bleep off of them, is social media. Far from making us feel like protagonists, you would think that our social media profiles would make us feel some kind of importance. It actually makes us think that we are very tiny and insignificant in the scope of human affairs. And it does not accord with a sense of human dignity that we ought to really adopt. We should understand ourselves as miraculous, as being a lucky cohort of people who get to actually live life. And we should treat ourselves with the kind of significance that having this shot at life deserves. I think we owe it to ourselves to take ourselves seriously, to go out and exercise, to go out and learn, to go out and meet people, to take a shot at our lives, because we don't want to throw away this opportunity. It's all going to end anyway. Think about the span of eternity. Time has existed for millions and millions and millions of years. We as human beings only get, 70 years? 80 years if we're lucky? And so many of us are coming into this and we are squandering our shot at life. We don't realize how lucky we are that we're surrounded with so many people and cool opportunities to take advantage of. Instead, we literally spend, according to the BBC, 21 years of our lives on our phones. I know it sounds incredibly corny, but I have come to view that as an act of ingratitude. I have come to view that because of this whole experience that I had in Rome, where I was sort of awakened to the miraculous event that every human life is. I started to view my time on social media and my time online as the biggest squanderance of that inheritance and that opportunity. We go on our phones every single day, and we allow ourselves to just mindlessly scroll, to look at what people who we went to high school with are eating for lunch. And we know this is bad. We have enough people talking about how bad social media is. But we know that this is awful. And yet somehow we don't take ourselves seriously enough to actually stop doing it. Why is that? Why is it that we continue to exist in this stratosphere that is designed to deaden us? It's designed to take our attention away from other things. We are literally just diminishing and crippling ourselves. And then, by the way, we live our lives to post on social media. I have come to see it as one of the most pathetic things in the world. You are telling me that we get this whole opportunity at life. We get to go on the stage, as Shakespeare said, for our time in the spotlight. And we're going to spend all of that time trying to take photos and videos to post on some website for people who we went to high school with 10 years ago, or people who we peripherally know or don't even know at all, to hit a button about. It's unbelievable. It is the equivalent of someone getting the opportunity to drive a car, like a gorgeous Ferrari, and never driving it, or an opportunity to go to an amazing institution or on an amazing trip and stay in your hotel room. Being on social media all day is literally sitting in your hotel room when you got an all expenses paid for trip to Rome. And so I want people to understand what a gift life is and that we are protagonists in this life. I want to end, unless Sean wants to cut in or the chat wants to cut in, but I think this is pretty sufficient. It's like a fireside chat-esque conversation. I want to end by telling you about some experiences I've had recently that have given me a new kind of lease or understanding or celebration of life. I think I used to view my life very much in terms of attaining the next step. When I was young, I really wanted to get into Harvard, and I sacrificed my entire life on the altar of college admissions. You can't imagine how much I gave my life over to this. I swam all the time. I was on soccer teams. I was on water polo teams. And that's not to say I didn't have great experiences or great friends. Of course I did. But every single day, it was school, then practice. Every single weekend, it was tournament after tournament in all these different parts of California. I would go and play one water polo game and then do my homework on the side of the pool, go do another water polo game, do my homework. And I thought of my life in terms of how many years until I apply and hopefully get into college. I would literally think, okay, I'm in 7th grade. I have 2 years until 9th grade where my academic record doesn't go on my college transcript. Got it. Okay, so I'm going to use this time to really, challenge myself so that once my transcript does start to count in 9th grade, I'll be ahead of the game. And then I got to 9th grade, and I'm like, okay, all right, 1 year down. I did it. I got good grades on my transcript. I've got 3 more years to prove myself. Okay, another year down. Okay, another swim season down. And I thought of it in terms of check, check, check. And it was just approximating closer and closer to this ultimate goal. And I look back and I realize that that's a really sad thing. Because all throughout that time, I was in life. I lived at home with my parents. Those are very precious years. Now, as my parents are getting older, I realize how precious they were. I was in high school where you had all these groups of people your age, in this unique, at times horrifying, but unique time where you are all young and you're having your first loves and your first heartbreaks and your first experiences of who you are and discovering who you are and meeting friends. And I just feel like I kind of squandered a lot of those life opportunities to get to the next step. And then when I got in college, I was really happy. They were the happiest years of my life, and I don't regret it all. Working so hard to go there. I regret sacrificing so much of my life and not having more balance, but I don't regret working so hard to go there. I loved it, and I got incredible opportunities there that I wouldn't have gotten if if I went to another school. But even then, I remember thinking okay, what's my next job? What's my next this? What's my next that? And even in this talk show, I've been doing this for about 1.5 years now. We launched Timeless right at the end of 2022, so coming up on 2 years. And really for the first year and 2 months, I gave everything to this show. I would wake up, read the newspapers all morning, come in, do my hair and makeup, film, go home, and do it all over again. I would read books constantly. I still do that, but literally all the time, every weekend, I would cut out these newspapers and put them all on my floor, and I would rearrange them, and I would call guests to come on the show and do this. I mean, it was just taking over my whole life. And obviously when you have a talk show, it's a big responsibility. It's a lot of work. But I think I was waiting to make it big. I think I was living and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to grind really hard right now. I'm going to sacrifice everything on the altar of making this show big. And then I kind of realized, hey, you're doing the same thing you did in high school. There's a life to be lived in the meantime. And then if your show gets big, then maybe you get a book deal, and then maybe you go to do something else. And then it's like, what are you going to do? Put your whole life on hold as you're writing the book? Oh, it's just when I publish the book that I'll stop grinding. Or you're going to put your life on hold until you're done with your next job. It just doesn't make any sense. And I really think the thing that got me off of the next step obsession, and that got me off of the maybe loneliness and malaise and a feeling of insignificance that all of us struggle with, is this understanding that every single second, every single moment of your life is a gift. It is not something that you are owed. It's not something that you were destined to have. It is a miracle. And that's really kind of my sermon. I do actually have another thing to say, but go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was on my phone.
Oh, well, how fitting. How very fitting. Do you relate to this at all? It's okay if you don't. I have more to say.
Of course I do. I don't think it's quite as bad for my generation as it was for yours. But there are a couple points that matter here. A, what you're saying is quite possibly one of the most important lessons in life, that time is irreplaceable. It's the one commodity you cannot replace. B, it's never too late.
Never
in
too
life.
late.
It becomes more difficult, and the malaise gets worse as you age and have wasted time. So it's important to realize that it's never too late. And time is the most precious commodity that you have. So to waste it scrolling or doing whatever it is important to contemplate this and at least try to make an effort.
Well, you know what I think about sometimes, and this sounds so corny, but it's true. Sometimes I wish I were my younger self, and I could, maybe I would be 10 years old, and I could go walk and open the door of my sister's room and just look in and see what she was doing then, even if she was just lying in her bed on her phone, or go walk in and to my parents' room and see what they were doing. Or I think back to high school. I wish I could just kind of like be a ghost almost and walk around. And what was that moment like? Because it's gone. I was actually at Harvard recently. I was in Cambridge. I went to go visit family, and I landed in Boston Logan Airport, and then I went to go visit a dear friend who's at Harvard Law School. And I went into Cambridge, and it was the strangest thing in the world. I was there on campus, and I was looking around, and everything was imbued with such a precious memory. Like, I would look at a street corner and go, oh my God, that's where my friend and I were dressed up as the cast of Shrek for Halloween. And I remember walking down the street to go there. And then I would look at another street corner and go, oh my gosh, that's where we drunkenly fell on the grass. I would go by, yes, believe it or not, I did drunkenly fall on the grass a few times. I would go in front of a dorm and go, oh my gosh, those are the steps I walked up. And I remember, like, I would just have these memories of running into people, or this is where this happened. I mean, everything, literally every corner of Cambridge, I was thinking of a beautiful memory. And it was the weirdest thing. It was all gone. No one was there. Like, I was looking and I'm thinking, oh, this person is going to turn around the corner. I can picture, right, I'm looking at the physical site. I can picture my friend turn around the corner in his AirPods and walking with his backpack, and he's gone. That was our moment, and we had it. And it's not our moment anymore. It passed. And now there are new people that come in. And truly, I now view life that way. I look at this job here, and hopefully I'll be doing it for a long time, but I kind of look at Sean in the producer's dungeon and everything differently. Because this isn't going to be here forever. They may move on. I may move on to a new job. I don't know. Think about even being in your 20s. This is a precious decade of my life. This is not going to be here for a while. One day I'm going to be older and I'm going to face new things. And so I think there's just this urge that I have, in part because I have not always done the best job at embracing it. And because in recent times I have embraced it to such an extent that I feel that it's given me a new lease on life, which is appreciate whatever era and whatever time you are in. appreciate that you are a protagonist and that one day it's all going to be done. It's really not that long in the span of eternity that we're here. And so go out and give your life one hell of a shot. I really don't fear failure anymore. I think I used to be terrified by it. I view myself as so lucky to get out and walk around and try. Let's say I fail. I absolutely get the opportunity to try. I think, oh God, what if I never get married? What if I never have kids? Well, I'm going to go out and try my fucking hardest to do that. And if I fail, okay, fine, I failed, but I get to go up and swing every single day. And I think that's incredibly, incredibly cool. So thank you for listening.
There's an Eastern philosophy, and I'm going to butcher it here, but it has something to do with you must be a pure stream in order to imbibe an ocean full of pollution. I know that's probably not that way it was written, but the truth is, in order to be that pure stream, to appreciate the moments you're talking about, religion does help a tremendous amount. It might be the most important part of that in order to be a pure stream and to fend off the distraction and the loneliness in life that is inevitable and relentless.
That's right. And everybody, I think I'll end with this. I think everyone who comes into your life is there, you know, I don't know if it's like for a reason, but there's a very cool, it's a very cool thing to be placed with people in this life. I was talking on Dennis and Julie about recently going to a cigar lounge, which shows Dennis's influence on me, just to relax and to chat with people. And I walked in there and it was so unbelievable. Cigar lounges, by the way, if you're lonely, and I get a lot of, as I said, emails about people who are lonely, go to a cigar lounge. Go. It's actually, I think, hate to say this, I actually think in some ways it's better than church for loneliness. Go. It's literally a free opportunity to just sit down and talk with people. And I was sitting there and I brought a friend, and across from me was a Syriac Catholic, a guy who grew up in Syria, came to the United States when he was 20 years old. He's actually the owner of the cigar store. Such a cool dude. Then we had a gypsy there. We had a black guy. We had an Orthodox Jew. We had this guy from Britain. I'm forgetting. Oh, yeah, we had another Jew from Brooklyn. And then we had me. And it was just like, I was sitting there and I was going, think about all of the threads that led to us showing up in this cigar store. Not just the threads of the day that, you know, I decided to come to this store at this certain time after I was done with work, or, you know, I was actually done with a workout and came to it after, or that this person, you know, think about those threads. But literally think about, like, this guy was born in Syria. And then he came over, somehow ended up in Los Angeles and came into this cigar store. There was an Assyrian there. That's the guy I was missing. An Assyrian who came over to the United States, somehow ended up in that cigar store. A gypsy, an Orthodox Jew. Think about all of the different diverse people from all around the world who gave birth to these people, and then somehow our threads kind of intersected to be in this cigar lounge. That's not an insignificant thing. I think if you view that as precious and view every person and encounter an opportunity in your life as what I just said, an opportunity, I am telling you, you will have the most riveting movie of a life that will give you a kind of satisfaction that you couldn't even imagine. And on that optimistic note, I'm going to tell you once more about golden pillows.
Yeah, I was going to say, or you could just focus on what everybody's talking about.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs.
But look at how cool that is. Like, we're a rare group of people that get to vote on these two people. Like, view your life and yourself as having consequences. You know how many people around the world would want to weigh in on this catastrophe of a race? We get to vote on these two people. That's power. We have okay, sorry, I know I'm like going off here, but again, once you view yourself as significant, not to sound like Kamala Harris, you really realize how significant you are. You know how many people your vote affects? Your vote doesn't just affect you, boo, or your family or your country. We are Americans, and literally so many people around the world would fight for the prize of our one vote. We have dozens of people standing behind us whose vote, our vote, they are riding on. It's a cool responsibility, and I think we should take it as such. See, Sean's doing the whole bro thing. That's what bros do. That's how bros indicate their approval, by doing the smirk. Okay, before we end, and please let me know what you think. I love the chat. Can't read it too much into detail, but please do email me, and I love hearing from you. We'll end with gold and pillows. Okay, so again, right now, it's a really good time to invest in gold because you want to tie your assets to something physical, something that is going to have value no matter the economic or global volatility. And so no wonder central banks and many Americans are doing just this and turning to gold. If you haven't thought about gold yet, now is the time, and you should trust Priority Gold to help you diversify your savings with gold and silver. Text gold into 1-800-405-GOLD for a free gold information guide and see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Experts agree that physical gold is one of the best ways to fortify your savings. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD to learn more. That's text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD to get your portfolio working for you right now. And in addition to gold, should also invest in pillows and bed sheets and slippers and towels. And you can get these at a discount if you use the promo code Hartman. Right now, I mentioned pillows. You can get the queen size premium My Pillow for only $19.98. The pillow is made with a patented adjustable fill that adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps to keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so that you can get the best sleep of your life. You can also get not just the pillow, but the 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets for only $25, the brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98, and the famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25. Just go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-566-6745 and use the promo code Hartman to get big discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow for only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today and use the promo code Hartman at checkout.
Oh, Julie.
I know what you're going to say, and I see somebody's comment to read the chat.
You've been neglecting the chat.
Read the chat. I know.
They're reading the chat. They're reading the dogs.
You know what I'll tell you? The reason that I wanted to focus on delivering my message, but I also wanted to end it because I don't want to waste your time. And when I'm done with something, I don't want to belabor it. That being said, though, thank you for the person for calling me out. I should read the chat. Okay. Or are we the villain in our own story? No, I don't think we're the villain in our own story. Well, yes, it's an astute comment. We can be the villain in our own story. But a protagonist can be a hero or a villain. Yeah, you get to decide whether you're going to have actions that will result in something good for you, or if you're going to harm yourself and others with your poor behavior. Ooh, this person, I'm so glad that you brought this up, is writing about divine providence. Divine providence is a hard conversation for me to fully wrap my head around. Yeah, I think a lot of what I just said is in this subject of divine providence. And I'll tell you a story on this subject, and then unless there's more, thank you for saying that I never waste your time. I hope not. There are a lot of people who just over chat, and I want to keep it really focused and really packed for you. But I will say this point on divine providence. So I, in case you couldn't tell, am quite a organized and at times rigid person. I'm on time. I don't tend to miss things. I'm pretty type A. And when I was in Europe, I actually missed a flight for the first time in my life. I was in Budapest and I was flying to Rome actually for the first day of this Catholic spiritual immersion program that I was participating in. And I missed my flight. I showed up to the airport early, and it turns out that Ryanair, I don't know if any of you have had experience with Ryanair, makes you print out your boarding pass when you get to the airport. Now, I'm an American. You scan your QR code. It's ridiculous. They make you print out the boarding pass. So they have me wait in line, and I'm in the same line as people checking their bags. I'm like, what's going on? And I finally get to the front, tell them I need to print my boarding pass, and they say to me, so sorry, ma'am, you are within 40 minutes of your flight, so we can't let you go on the plane. Like, what are you talking about? I have plenty of time to go through security. I think it's basically a scheme. They don't do refunds to get money, but we'll put that aside. I was so angry at myself. I'm like, Julie, you should have showed up earlier. You should have read the terms and conditions. You're going to miss this first day of the spiritual immersion program in Rome. What is wrong with you? The next flight wasn't until 12 hours later. I'm like, okay, this is awful. I Uber back into Budapest, and I tell myself, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the Museum of Communism and Nazism. But before that, I was hungry. And it was a blazing hot day in Budapest. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just go and get myself some food. So I go to this cafe at the recommendation of a friend. I'm walking in with my luggage and my middle school backpack, which I carry around to travel. And I go in and I sit down and I notice that there's a spider on me. You're thinking, where the hell is this going? And so a waiter comes over and he's trying to get the spider off of me, and it's causing this kind of ruckus in the restaurant. It's this very, intense spider. It dug its legs into me. It wasn't coming off, and I hate spiders, so they're trying to get it off of me. And finally, they get it off of me. So I'm sitting there. I miss my flight. I'm gonna go to the Museum of Communism and Nazism. I go to this random restaurant, and there's a spider on me. And it was that ruckus that caused an American couple sitting at the next table to start to talk with me. Turns out they're conservative. They learn I work with Dennis Prager. They invite me over to their table. I end up having lunch with them. And to make a long story short, they wanted to set me up with their son, who lives in Los Angeles. And I ended up being set up with this son. And not to talk about my life here on the air, but it's been a lovely thing in my life. And it's because I missed a flight literally to go to Rome for this Catholic immersion program. I Uber back into Budapest. I'm going to eat. I'm going to stop at this random store and then have this spider get thrown off of me. And that's what made me meet this American couple. It shows you, Rudyard Kipling has this amazing poem called If, and it's like, if you do this, if you do that, if you do this, then you'll be a really sturdy person. And one of the lines is, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. And I love that, because triumph and disaster are both illusory. Sometimes when you think things are going so wrong and that you messed everything up and it's your fault and this is terrible, it actually ends up going really right. Similarly, when things seem to be going right, we all know that actually they can turn out really wrong. And so I just kind of live my life now with this openness. Rigid type A Julie would have never imagined that her missing a flight would lead to something so nice. And by the way, as a real thing to end on, another blessing of my missing that flight? It's that I did end up going to the Communism and Nazism Museum. This was at the start of my trip, I was only in Budapest for 2 days before I went to Rome. And I really wanted to go to this museum, but I didn't have any time. And so because I missed the flight, I got to go to the museum, and here's the kicker. 2 weeks later, I was still in Rome, and I was at Ava's wedding, my friend's wedding, and we were driving out to the countryside, and we had a long time in the car between the mass in Rome and then the reception in the countryside of Italy. And I'm in this random car with a member of parliament. Actually, Andy knows in the front seat. He's so cool. And I'm in the back seat with this woman. And we're talking just to pass the time, and I start kind of going on my spiels about all these interesting things I have seen and did. I went to Mussolini's fascist dictatorial city outside of Rome, and then I said, oh, and I went to the Museum of Terror in Budapest, and I'm swiping, I'm going, look at this piece of propaganda, and look at that, and isn't that so interesting, because this compares with what Mussolini tried to do, and da-da-da-da-da. Turns out that woman sitting next to me in the car was affiliated with Oxford University, and she invited me to give a lecture at the Roger Scruton Legacy Foundation, which I did that next week, on the subject of communist, Nazi, and fascist art and architecture. All because I missed a flight. So don't, I'm not advocating for missing a flight, but what I am advocating for is living your life with a kind of radical openness. You literally never know where it could lead. And two incredible things in my life have come out of the fact that yours truly missed a flight, but also yours truly let her life and let Providence just unfold. Don't overthink it. I'm glad I didn't go straight to the museum, because then I met the American couple at the next table. Just live your life with openness and you'll see.
So Julie's big takeaway today, when it comes to life, swing your effing hardest.
Yeah.
You potty mouth pirate.
Why is that bad?
You cussed.
I did? Oh, did I cuss? Wow. Oh, I didn't realize I cussed. Wow, that really shows I was in my element. I sometimes I forget I'm on the air. I really view myself as just talking to a person. So forgive me for cussing. I'll see you next week, hopefully for less of the cussing, but more of the fun times on Timeless Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, live at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. And please continue to write into me. I love hearing from you at julie@julie-hartman.com. And also, as a final note, check out Dennis and Julie this Sunday, especially if you like today's episode. You'll really like this Sunday's episode. Be well, everyone. See you soon.